Yeah, welcome back, YouTube. Here I am talking about competitive for the first time on my channel. You might have seen on last week I posted my content update, and I mentioned that I wanted to start talking about the competitive side of things for the eternal return community. If you're someone who might want to look into get into the competitive events, or maybe you just want to play in events in general, I'm going to be covering both the official events as well as side events, maybe more for fun stuff, as well as any sort of other events that happen around the ER community, including non-player roles, people who also want to organize their own tournaments. Maybe they want to do casting work, all that stuff. I'm going to be covering that today as a quick overview on everything that goes along the ER community. As anybody that might want to get into one of those things, I to look forward to when it comes to being an ER player. So, starting us off, the easiest one to go through will be the official events. These are the most straightforward. Each season that we have three competitive official events. We have two ERCS Phase 1 and Phase 2. This is a standard tournament. You sign up as a team of three. Potentially, we would a fourth player as a sub. Subs are not mandatory, but I would recommend always having a sub. You know what might happen. And specifically, ERCS Phase 1 registrations usually happen very early into the season. If you're a player that might want to compete in one of these and is trying to get into Phase 1, I think it's the easiest for you to get into, mainly because that's when the season reset happens. Any player that was like around Meteorite and such now is back to Plat or Gold. And so just doing a little bit of climbing, you can like qualify for this tournament. Most tournaments that I'm going to be talking about do have a seeding based off their rank. So that's going to be your biggest reason to push in the ranks. And most players, they push in rank because they need to go ahead and get into the official events as well as some of the other events that other tournament organizers host also use rank as a qualification to get in there. Now, it's not to say that there's not any event that doesn't allow you to play if you have a low rank, but the majority of them do use rank. So climbing rank is going to be your main priority to get into these events. They will go off the average MMR on your entire team, except for your sub. So if you have three members that are really high rank, you can have the last person that's listed as a sub as maybe someone who's there just in case of backup, or maybe someone who doesn't play the game as much because time, allowed to them. But there might still be a good player. Or they might still play just as the same amount as the other three members. No worries there. Yeah, that's going to be RCS Phase 1. It has a pretty normal tournament structure. They sometimes play around with the tournament structure, though, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But usually there's like about 32 slots for teams, which is quite a bit of players. Sometimes they change it up. That's the usual amount they allow. Then you have your RCS Phase 2. This, generally speaking, works the same as Phase 1. Sometimes they play with a format, but it's usually about the same. Last but not least, our last official event of the season, it's always ERCC. The ERCC is special for two reasons. One, it's open to all regions, so both EU, SA, anybody else. It will happen in the NA servers still, but they can compete in it. And not only that, but also ERCC is a different format of tournament. This is a format that rewards flexibility. You're only allowed to play a character on a team twice. So, for example, in my case, I'm a Tia main. I'm a bit of a one trick. I would only be able to play Tia 2 games out of 6. That's usually how many games they do. And then I'll have to swap it up. So you pretty much need a total of at least 3 team compositions to play in ERCC. So it's a pretty interesting tournament. You usually see a lot of cool stuff. It really rewards flexibility over anything else. It's a pretty fun tournament, honestly. I would say it's probably my favorite tournament out of the 3 because I do actually like playing others, even though I'm mostly a one trick. So that's going to be official events for the most part. In tandem with official events, we have scrims, right? Scrims, it's where most of the official teams that are going into these tournaments are going to be practicing on for the tournaments before the weekend. Scrims usually happen Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays in the middle of the week. They happen, I believe, at 8 Eastern the time they're happening, and they usually play about 4 games. So it usually takes about 2 hours. I would say if you're looking to get into these competitive tournaments, but maybe you don't have a team or you don't have the rank just yet and you're trying to get into it. So I think scrims are a really good way for you to get into it and to meet people. Oftentimes, because they need more than one lobby, there's a lot of teams in these tournaments. They're usually looking to fill out a second or a third lobby, and so you could offer to fill out, and with other people that offer to fill out, you could, and as well getting to the scrims, get to play with good players. So it's not a bad place. I would say it's a really good introduction for anybody that's getting to look into it. I would also say you could also offer to help for scorekeeping or lobby hosting or other roles, which I'll cover a little bit more in detail later. because it is not just all about competing. After scrims, I would like to talk a little bit about other events, not just tournaments that happen outside of the official, but also any other side events that happen around the community in general. So I'm going to start off saying the other major tournament that tends to happen alongside officials. This doesn't happen every season, but it happens quite often for me to want to give it a mention, and that's going to be the Tier 2 tournaments. Tier 2 tournaments are simply put, it's a tournament planned to be for anybody that doesn't compete in the official tournaments. That's why it's called Tier 2. Pretty much declines anybody that it's like a finalist on the main tournaments, and everybody else can sign up. So even people that play in the official tournaments, if they didn't make finals, they usually are allowed to sign up into these tourneys, and they never collide, right? So you can always play in those instead, or they can be a way to introduce you to those tournaments, well, right? Again, they're not as consistent. They don't always happen every season, but oftentimes they do run it, and when they run it, it's a pretty fun tournament to participate. Other tournaments that tend to happen will be the ones that I host myself. I host two types of tournaments usually. I host one, which is I call EREC. I hosted one about a week and a half ago. That one's a bit more of a chaotic tournament. I pretty much do individual signups for the players. You can sign up as an individual, go in there, and you will randomly assign a team, or you will be shuffled around. It's a random format tournament. Pretty much, I don't tell you anything about the rule set or anything like that until the day of the tournament, and then on the day of the tournament, rules get revealed, and you play the best you can with the according rules. Pretty silly tourney overall. It's pretty chaotic, but some people like that, and honestly, I have a lot of fun planning for this, and I run it pretty often. So, but also pretty sporadically. Like I usually announce it, and within like a little bit of a net less than a day, usually fills out because it is usually just at one lobby, one day tourney. That being said, all my tournaments, personally, I always make sure to have slots available to those who are lower rank. So it could also be a good introduction for you if you have a low rank, want to try to play one of these tourneys. The other event that I do a little bit more serious is one event called EROB, the Eternal Return Open Brawl. And this is a bigger event. It's a infinite registration tournament. I don't do it as often, but I try to do it every now and then. It's pretty much a tournament where everybody can sign up. Sometimes I'll do it as a team, sometimes I'll do it as individual, but everybody can sign up regardless of the rank, and you're guaranteed to play. If you sign up, you will play. There's no player cap on, and that's what makes it a special. That's another one of my events. Outside of that, I do a lot of events on the side, like fun events, like do trivia shows. I do all sorts of things, some around different types of events. It's just tournaments, and that leads me to introduce the next thing, which is going to be non-player roles, right? People that are not competing but might want to get into a different aspect of community, right? Usually, I often put in my post when I'm doing a new tournament or a new event that I'm looking for either people for scorekeeping, for casting, people doing camera work, people who are doing the broadcasting. Sometimes I do tournaments where I don't do it on my Twitch channel. I would do it on other person's channels. I have my own reasons for doing that, but I do allow that. I have actually had plenty of people broadcast for me on my own tournament. So, and of course, the most popular one, it's going to be casting, right? A lot of people, I feel like I've heard, want to get into casting. They don't really know what to start. Usually, whenever I do any sort of my events, I will post that I'm looking for casters. If I don't hear from anybody, then I will reach out to my casters that I usually know. But I do like to give out the chance for anybody that's looking into getting into any of those. You could also be other tournament organizers. If you want to host your own and you want to become a tournament organizer, where do you start, right? How do I get people to know about all that kind of stuff? There's a couple tournament organizers I've seen already. I'm always welcome to give people advice and also help out on their other events. I've done every part of the process, right? I've done the broadcasting, I've done the camera work, I've done the casting, I've done the scorekeeping, I got the reviews. I've helped other people run their tourneys or give them ideas. And so if you're also looking to become a tournament organizer yourself, you're always free to reach out and welcome in, or maybe help out on another person's journey to learn how to run yours, and that can give you a lot of ideas. I think reaching out to the current tournament organizers is always a good idea on terms of that, and not just because of getting new ideas or getting better at it, but also so that you don't collide tournaments. Because sometimes that does happen. People plan two events for the same day. Things get a little awkward, right? So communications, if you want to get into one of those things that are not player related, I'm always looking for help in my own events. Interested, send out a VM on the Discord. I'll be more than happy to help somebody get it into. That's going to be an overview overall for most of our official events. Again, I'm going to be covering more competitive content in the future, and hopefully this video taught you something new. I'm going to be looking forward to some new players joining. the competitive scene as I think. It's honestly a pretty cool thing, and we have lots of talented tournament organizers, people behind the scenes making everything. See you guys next time.